Assalamu alaikum students, once again we are going to discuss differentiation for 0580, that is IGCSE mathematics. So in the previous class I gave you a deep conceptual learning for the differentiation topic. So we are going to find out the generic method for the curve y equals x power n. So if we have y equals x power n, so there is a very long derivation, but I'm not going to do that. So the method to solve this basically includes the binomial series, and after applying that we are going to find out the final result, that is nx power n minus 1, and it says that power comes down and 1 subtracted from the power. It says power comes down and 1 subtracted from the power. So let's take a look at some examples. So let's say my y is x square, and we clearly see in that question y equals x square, and we know the answer is 2x. Okay, so now by using this method says that dy by dx is going to be power comes down. So the power is 2 comes down and 1 subtract from the power. So 2 minus 1 becomes basically 1. I would not write 1, or you may write 1. Okay, again, let's say my y is x cube. So the method says dy by dx equals power comes down. So 3 comes down and 1 subtract from the power. So when I subtract 1 from the power, it becomes 2. So let's take a look at another example. So let's say it's 4x power 6. Okay, what happens? Power comes down. Okay, 6 4s are 24. So power comes down and 1 subtract from the power. So 6 comes down and 6 times 4 is basically 24, and 1 subtract from the power. Okay, let's take a look at another example. If it is 2x power negative 4. Now again power comes down. Okay, the power is coming down, so 2 times minus 4 is basically negative 8. Okay, power comes down, so 4 times 2 is 8, but it's a negative 4, so it's going to be negative 8, and 1 subtract from the power, so it becomes minus 4 minus 1 becomes minus 5. Okay, so now moving towards the case where y is going to be in the form of a times x. So what is y is equals to ax? Y is equals to ax is basically a line. Okay, y is equals to ax plus c is basically a line, and we know that if y is equals to ax plus c, we can clearly see that the gradient is a. And what does a gradient, how does a gradient is being represented? It is going to be represented by dy by dx. So in short, I got to know that if y equals ax, so the gradient is a, or I would say that dy by dx equals to a. And by looking at this method, how can we find out the gradient of, how can we find out the derivative? So let's say my y is x. So the derivative method says power comes down. So power is 1, 1 comes down, 1 subtract from the power. So already the power is 1, and if I subtract 1 from it, it is going to be power 0, and something power 0 is basically 1. So do remember that whenever we have x, the derivative of x is going to be 1. So the derivative of x is 1, and after multiplying it, it will become 2. So keep this thing, remember that if we have only x, then the derivative of x is going to be only 1. I assume that is clear to you. Okay, what if we have y equals to constant? So basically this is a line which is parallel to x-axis, right? If a line is parallel to x-axis, we know that the gradient of this line is 0. So it means if we have y is equals to c, then the derivative is going to be 0. And you know what is a derivative? Derivative gives us the approximate change. Obviously, a constant is going nowhere. A constant is not changing. So therefore, there is no difference in a constant. A 2 remains a 2. A 3 remains a 3. So therefore, there is no change in a constant. So I would say the change in a constant is 0. So the approximate change in the constant obviously is 0. So now by the method I told you just, so let's say if we have y equals 1, that is a constant obviously. So I would write this as y equals x power 0. Can I write it like this? Yes, I can. And power comes down, that is 0 comes down, 1 subtract from the power. So there is no use of subtracting the power because I have already got 0. So my derivative of constant is 0. So now I can say whatever the constant is, I'm going to get a derivative 0. Now we have some examples. So let's say we have y equals 2x cube plus 5x square minus x plus 5. So if I'm going to find out the derivative, so power comes down, 2 3s are 6, 1 subtract from the power. Okay, 5 times 2 is 10, 1 subtract from the power. X derivative is 1, 5 is constant and constant derivative is 0. So my final answer should be 6x square plus 10x minus 1. Okay, let's take another example. What if I have y equals x power 4 minus x square plus 2. Okay, the derivative dy by dx equals, power comes down, 1 subtract from the power, so 4 comes down, and 1 subtract from the power, so 4 minus 1 is 3. Again, power comes down, 2 comes down, 1 subtract from the power, so 2 minus 1 is 1. And the derivative of 2, that is constant, it is going to be 0. Okay, 4x cube minus 2x is my final answer. Okay, let's say if I have 2x, if I have, let's say, x power p, 2x power p, and I'm suggesting that dy over dx is basically 10x power 4, and I'm asking you to find out the value of p. So I will take out derivative. How? Power comes down, so this becomes 2p. 1 subtract from the power. The power comes down and it will be multiplied by 2. Power comes down, 1 subtract from the power, so it becomes p minus 1. Now I am going to compare the coefficient. So my coefficient is 2p. So I would write 2p equals to 10, and the value of p is going to be 5. Okay, let's take a look at another example. What if I have y equals x power minus 7 minus x power minus 4 plus 2x power minus 1. Okay, now the dy by dx. Power comes down, minus 7 comes down. 1 subtract from the power. After subtracting 1 from the power, it would become x power minus 8. Okay, again, power comes down, minus minus plus. 1 subtract from the power, so minus 4, and again minus 1 becomes minus 5. Okay, power comes down, so 2 times minus 1 is basically minus 2, and 1 subtract from the power, it would become minus 2. Okay, let's take a look at another example. Let's say I have 2 over x power 4 minus 1 over x square. Obviously, I can't apply a method of differentiation until it comes in the numerator. So now I can apply the method of differentiation to it. So this becomes, power comes down, that is minus 8. 1 subtract from the power. So minus 4 times 2 is minus 8. And 1 subtract from the power becomes minus 5. Okay, minus minus plus. Power comes down, that is 2. 1 subtract from the power. So minus 2 minus 1 becomes minus 3. Okay. What if I have a curve? A curve is given by y equals 2x cube minus x plus 5. And they are asking for the gradient of tangent at x equals to 1. That's very simple. You just have to take out the derivative. The derivative says power comes down 6. You get, because 2 3s are 6, and 1 subtract from the power. So 3 minus 1 is 2. The derivative of x is 1. The derivative of 5 is 0. So if you don't want to write it, no problem. Now I need the gradient at x equals to 1. So at x equals to 1, I can have the gradient that is going to be 6 times 1 square minus 1, and the gradient becomes 5. So if you want to calculate the gradient, you can just plug in the value of x and then you can find out the gradient of tangent. Okay, let's say we have a curve y equals x cube minus 8x, and I want you to find out gradient of curve when it crosses x-axis. So at x-axis, when it crosses x-axis, it is going to be y equals to 0. Let's say it was x cube minus 8, sorry. So let's say if the curve is crossing x-axis, then the y value is 0. So x cube equals 8. I have got the value of x, that is going to be 2. So for the gradient of curve, we need derivative. So power comes down, 1 subtract from the power. 8 is constant and the derivative of constant is 0. I need the gradient at x equals to 2. So I would just plug in the value x equals to 2. 3 4s are 12. So I have got the value of the gradient. Okay. So let's say my question. My question is equation of tangent at x equals to 1 to the curve y equals x square plus 4x. So equation of tangent. For equation of tangent, the equation of tangent is basically y equals mx plus c. We can have multiple methods to find out the equation. So let's say y equals mx plus c. So dy over dx. We need gradient, right? So for gradient, I would be using the differentiation. Power comes down, 1 subtract from the power. And how I am going to get the gradient? I will put x equals to 1. So this becomes 2 times 1 plus 4, and my gradient value is 6. So to find out the equation I need C, and to find out C, I need the value of x and y. So x is 1. I would write y equals 1 square plus 4 times 1, then y equals to 5. So my equation is y equals mx plus c. If I don't have any value of c, so how can I get that value? It's very easy. We have already done that in coordinate geometry. The value of y is 5. The value of x is 1. And finally, I will get the value of c, that is going to be 5 minus 6, that is minus 1. So I have got the value of c. Now my equation of tangent would be y equals mx plus c. So that is the way to find out the equation of tangent. I hope that is clear to you. I hope all of you are clear with the method. So this is the method to find out the equation of tangent. So in the next class, we are going to discuss the turning points and the stationary points and the maximum and the minimum concept. I hope all of you understood well. Thank you.